Welcome to Crystal Clear Stories, the channel where we take complex, confusing financial news and break it down so that it's clear, transparent, and easy to understand. Of course, nothing in our stories involves financial advice. Do your own research or get help from a qualified financial advisor. Let's get started. The Federal Reserve is cutting rates, and long-term yields are rising. Something is wrong. That is not how this system is supposed to work. In every modern cycle, from the 2008 crash to the 2020 panic, the script was predictable. The Fed cuts, the 10-year yield falls, credit expands, asset prices inflate, a new boom is born. Simple. Look at 2007 to 2008. The Fed began cutting in late 2007. The 10-year yield collapsed right alongside it. When the crisis hit, they slashed again. Yields plunged. Then came quantitative easing. The credit machine roared back to life. The same happened in 2019. Cuts began. The 10-year Treasury bonds followed their predictable path lower. In 2020, rates went to zero. Treasury bond yields obeyed. Another massive credit boom. That relationship has been the heartbeat of the financial system for a long time, until now. In September 2024, the Fed resumed its rate-cutting efforts. The 10-year bond yield was around 3.75%, and instead of falling, it rose. It pushed over 4%, then higher, even as the Fed continued cutting into 2025. For the first time in modern history, long-term bond rates are defying the Fed. This is not a credit boom. This is a credit fracture. There are red flags everywhere you look. Industrial booms require falling long-term rates. You don't build factories, refineries, or infrastructure with short-term gimmicks. You need cheap, long-term capital to fund the expansion. Without it, nothing happens. You get rising costs and shrinking margins. Picture the Niagara Falls looming dead ahead. That's where the emotional twist hits. Most people assume rate cuts mean rescue, relief, growth. But what if they mean something else this time? Some wise financial analysts argue that we are no longer in a credit expansion cycle. They suggest we are in a debasement cycle. In past eras, Fed printing lowered long-term rates and ignited industrial demand. Commodities surged, gold lagged. But in the 1970s, when monetary debasement overwhelmed credit growth, gold exploded. It rocketed 25 times over its original value. Copper? It barely doubled. Zinc? It stirred just 2.4 times its original value. Oil kept pace, which was boring, but most industrial commodities did not. Why were those the results? Simple. Demand collapsed. When money loses value, but incomes don't keep up, businesses fail. Restaurants close. Manufacturers' markets shrink. Higher prices don't signal prosperity. They signal a nation getting poorer. If yields keep rising while the Fed cuts, it means the bond market no longer believes in the rescue. That's the real fear. If higher rates pump government deficits, more Treasury bonds will flood the market. Yields will rise further. Interest costs will balloon. Either the government defaults or the Fed will have to buy everything. You never want to see that happen. That is the grand finale. The government buys the entire bond market and destroys the currency. We have been warned. You cannot avoid the collapse of a credit-fueled boom. You can only take desperate action to make the trouble end sooner, or you can face the Niagara of total catastrophe. If long-term rates have slipped beyond the Fed's control, then the next round of quantitative easing, which means printing money, won't restart the machine. It will expose it. The only question now isn't whether the system breaks, it's when. If this video helped you understand things more clearly, consider liking the video and subscribing so you can stay informed with our community throughout 2026.